Yes, Marco.
I have a question, couple of questions. The first is from technical aspect, talking with Davide, if I'm not wrong, I've understood this widget, or in general speaking, this feature can help the partner to develop a new application coming from different language. For example, in Java or COBOL, can we use this feature to migrate an application from one language to Genero, or is too much?
Yeah, that's exactly one of the great use cases. Yes, if you want to migrate from Java or COBOL to Genero, that would be one of the best tool to use. LLM models, they know already a lot about Java, maybe something about COBOL, and with MCP, they will know a lot about Genero. So that's the natural tool to use for application migration. Yes.
Great, thank you. There is a question from Rosaria, a similar question. They explain us they use a lot of web services. So even in this case, we can use MCP to migrate the web services on Genero web application.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. Great.
And so for that, we also, again, Andrew showed the list of skills. And once we get into the contractual, deal with the particular customers, we will define exactly what type of skills would you prefer to have in your package, right? You'll have a standard package skills that is available right now for everybody. And we also can offer certain types of skill, again, for the migration or for certain things that may be relevant to you and will be more necessary for your projects and enhancements. So that comes with the, the package opportunity. Right. So yes, it's we have a different, I would call it different categories or types of skills that we have. Andrew, we haven't shared the important one, for me at least, the feedback loop. So one of the skill that is there is that allowing you to right away provide your feedback. So this is the instant way to communicate back to us of what worked or what hasn't. So if you, after your successful session with the agent inside of your harness, if you would ask it to summarize and provide feedback to 4Js in your own, in your own words, does it really have to be very specific or like keyword to trigger this? Just like, hey, I wanted to submit the feedback to 4Js, tell them what's been great and what can be improved on. The agent will summarize your session, would not take your code, it just the aspects, the summary of what worked, what didn't work. And on the back end, will send direct informations to our server on the back. So our team can work on your feedback to either get more skills, refine. If case is something that is not quite what you would expect it to be, that helps us to refine skills in the next iteration. We'll get an updated. Our skills portfolio consistently evolve, and we have actually fully autonomous agent help us to refine on a continuous basis our skills partially based on the feedback that we receive from our customers, which is the great opportunity to be a contributing partner to a pretty broad community of Genero developers for the best practices. And it goes through our curation process. Of course, it's not fully automated. We always double check, make sure that the available skills are refined and accurate. But the feedback loop really helps. You can submit the tickets. I know some of you guys already submitted the tickets or submitting the questions through Genero Intelligence platform from the developer portal. But that way, it's not there for questions, it's actually providing feedback for skill enhancements. And that is the way how we can achieve excellence and refine it much, much faster for our customers.
Great. And even without talking about pricing, if I'm right, when we use the Claude developer, we have to imagine to pay a token for the cloud services and a token for Genero AI, or is a different pricing?
Great question, Marco. So there is no Genero AI. We don't call it. It's the intelligence. And we don't charge tokens. No, 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 no.
Great.
It will never, I don't know where this is coming from, but it's keep on surfacing. Maybe it's because it's associated with AI. We don't charge per tokens at all. It is a subcharge into your existing pricing that you have to access to the advanced features. So we don't change your contract structure. So whatever the contract you are having right now, it's going to be as additional, either SKU line item or just bump on your existing pricing, depending on a tier, but it's not per token necessarily, right? You're right, Marco, that it's up to a customer themselves or the company themselves, which harness are they using and pay LLMs, whether it's Claude Code, Open Code, VS Code, or whatever. That is completely separate. It's up to you guys to decide which tools are you using. But I want you to tell you that, and again, emphasize again, we've ran some benchmarks and we've seen that tokens is your current currency, and MCP Server really helps you to be more efficient with it. Instead of forcing the agent to guess and guess and guess, and you steer it into direction, trying to guess closer to what a code should look like. With MCP servers, the iterations are times when you engage agent to produce code is much, much less. You can get a fully ready to go code that compile in maybe two, and sometimes we got a shot like in a one shot, we get it done. Something, when it's more complex, and as you get accustomed to properly structure your prompts, it maybe take you 2 to 3 iterations depending on complexity. When otherwise it would take you maybe 15 or so, something like that, and it was continuously guessing. So every attempt that you're doing to compile the code, it eats up your tokens. So by using MCP, we actually have seen this over 6 times more cost-effective usage of tokens that you can use for something else.
Okay.
Right. And that's the beauty of it, because we get the almost like the super genius Genero developer right in your pocket. That also helps if your team is growing and you're bringing young talent that are not quite familiar with Genero. It accelerates their learning curve with the chat capabilities, right? The documentation chat, when it's actually a tutor of Genero, right? That gives them the reference, and harness with MCP Server. The young talent can be almost self-sufficient in educating themselves in Genero and producing something that is really close to production ready, rather than pairing with the senior developers and eat up both of them time and nurture those relationships. We also have a growing team. We have a lot of interns joining us, and it's a blessing and a curse when you have young developers. They're eager to learn, but they know nothing. And giving them access to this to kind of explore on their own really help to offload the burden or the blessing of nurturing the new talent into Genero language, and be able to enable them to get more excited, like that they can produce something in a new language that have never been working before, and something that is compiles, works in a fraction of the time otherwise it would have taken them.
Thank you, Eva.
Sure.
Very clear. There is a question from Chiara. If these tools can be useful also for migrate or update the Genero from 3.2 to 6, so the last release of Genero.
Yes, and I think at this point, we are even working on the specific migration skills. So how to upgrade from version 3.2 to 6. And yeah, we're working on that, but technically you can use it even right now. Yeah.
So and I'll just add to this. This is I feel like it's one of the most common questions that comes up all the time. A lot of our customers are still on the prior versions. They know that the Genero 3, I think, is not going to be supported anymore going in 2027, if I'm correct. It's not
correct. Yeah.
I did my homework. So the customers are rushing to migrate into the newer versions. Our agents and everything we work on is tailored for version 5 and 6. And we are actually specifically working right now on kind of subcategory of skills to really help to support that migration, because many customers this year in a Q3 and Q4 really pushing hard to get the migration done. And with MCP Server and certain curated skills that we're packaging for them, that effort gonna get so much easier and lighter. Can it be 100% agentic? Probably not. You'll still need to have expertise in hand-holding and verifications, but acceleration of the time and quality it takes and the pain, elimination of pain, is quite substantial.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question, actually. I will ask in Italian because it's for the participant. And volevo domandare, per chi ha usato attualmente Genero Intelligence, sapevano appunto che era possibile richiamare delle skill e appunto poi interrogando le AI era possibile avere una lista di quelle skills? Domando, ecco, per sapere un po' come si sono trovati finora con Genero Intelligence. Oppure magari per chi ancora non l'ha utilizzato, cosa ne pensano appunto della presentazione, se c'è qualche elemento che ritengono possa essere utile, che possa aiutarli, un widget per esempio, oppure qualche skills, solo per...
L'esperienza, ora mi presento, sono Danny e rappresento Zucchetti Centro Sistemi. L'esperienza che abbiamo avuto noi, perdonate se rispondo in italiano, l'esperienza che abbiamo avuto noi, ecco, è stata relativa proprio al portale, quindi non direttamente su un Visual Studio piuttosto che altre IDE. L'abbiamo utilizzato per il Doc Assistant. Utile per trovare velocemente le informazioni dentro quella che è la documentazione di Genero.
Perfetto.
Una nota che mi sento di aggiungere è che alcune volte è capitato che generasse di fatto poi del codice direttamente da lì, e questo codice, se poi andiamo a riportarlo sull'applicativo, poi effettivamente crea problemi in compilazione.
Ok.
Quindi spesso, quando capitava queste cose, comunque la cosa più veloce era rifarlo a mano, senza chiedere di rigenerare più volte. Questo però, ripeto, sempre dal portale, non
Certo.
quindi da Visual Studio magari con Claude Code, piuttosto che Codex, piuttosto che altro. Un'altra cosa... No, nulla, questo. Un'altra cosa che ho
Ok.
chiesto è quella prima e non ho capito bene del tool che fa text to SQL, se è disponibile su tutti i tipi di BMS o appunto se era solo per alcuni che hanno i vettori piuttosto che, non lo so, semplicemente su Informix, se è stato fatto direttamente con Genero o se, come diceva Andrew inizialmente, sono dei web component che sotto hanno JavaScript piuttosto che altri linguaggi.
Ok, sì, per rispondere rapidamente alla seconda
Sì.
domanda, in fase di sviluppo, appunto si chiamerà ARC. Just asking in English, Eva, did you get it? Because actually your Italian is pretty good.
Some of it. Well, let me start maybe from the back. Andrew, the question was in a text to SQL, right? Explain a little bit more in terms of how it's available. Is it available for all of that, and it hasn't been written in Genero, right, or in another language and just available through GBC? And I know the answer, but I want you to answer.
It is Genero. It's 4GL code. On the server side, it's 4GL code. On the client side, it's a custom widget. Like actual user experience, it's a custom web component that you wire in your 4GL code. Web component itself is JavaScript. Yes,
Okay.
JavaScript, CSS, and HTML.
So the client side via REST asks the server side the data. The server side returns a JSON or something like that with all the data, and the server side and the client side render the eventual reply. Is it correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, understood.
So this server side is responsible to execute the query and pull the data to the client. And then on the client side, agentic experience happens on the client side in JavaScript, right? We made that on purpose. Technically, we can put everything inside of 4GL, like everything. The challenge with 4GL, you've seen that experience. When I asked the question, the agent started streaming the answer like native AI experience, right? It's like it's stream of the text. So Genero at this time does not support streaming. That's why I specifically architected that widget. I decided to put the AI part on the client, but 4GL code is fully responsible for the data, right? And that's the best from two worlds.
Okay.
And I believe the other part, and David, correct me if I'm wrong, was regarding the arc, right? When we have, or did I miss it?
No, actually, the first part was about, correct me if I'm wrong, then you mean you were asking for documentation from the library, but then the AI will just generate code randomly, right? And this was actually, it was easier to do it manually than applying the code that
Yep.
the AI gave you.
By using the Docker assistant.
By using the
sometimes.
Docker system.
Yep.
By using Docker
By
assistant,
using the
yeah.
Docker assistant.
Yeah, Doc Assistant, remember, Doc Assistant is documentation assistant. That's for documentation and get some answers. I would rather use Claude Code with MCP to generate the code. You still can ask a documentation assistant to give you some code snippets, but that will not be the most efficient tool. Claude Code with a good model and MCP Server will beat documentation assistants because they serve different purposes. Documentation assistant just for quick Q&A, quick questions, answers, not necessarily for the code generation. It still can give you the snippet, right? But if you're working with the code, if you are writing the code, you wanna have like the full snippet that you can compile and run. I would use Claude Code, VS Code with the MCP Server.
Again, what Andrew have highlighted, and we've seen this question come up, and thank you so much for bringing this up again. Make sure that everybody understand. I think we made a big bold letters there in a document assistant too. Document assistant initially job is designed not to create a code for you. It is designed to give you quick access to the documentations, explain things, educate you on the latest capabilities. It's the source. It's Andrew described that it's a dictionary, right? But if you want, yes, again, like we will put it, maybe we need to make it bigger. And again, you can use it as an example. So use it as a reference point to explain in certain things, to understand better, to pull some official documentation if you need the reference points. But the best experience from the developer standpoint, it comes from your harness, which is either VS Code or Claude Code or Cursor or Kiro, whatever you are using, because those programs that you have up, and we work with most of them. It's whatever your organization chooses to do the development in, right? And we can, if there's something that is not listed here, we right now have 6 connectors, how to connect, right? 6 harnesses that we work with. If there's something that is not here, let us know. We'll help you to connect MCP Server so you can use it. But because those harnesses is specifically designed for code generation, you get so much more better experience from the compiling the code with MCP servers than just documentation assistance. Okay, so there's 2 different purposes. Now we are enriching the knowledge of our documentation assistant agents with more, not just Genero BDL. We'll embed it more information about other Genero products, new releases, more things that you'll be able to quickly access the latest and greatest information right there in one window, rather than go to our portal, look for the press releases, find the documents and stuff like that. So that is in works, and I think we'll be ready to release that knowledge enhancements by WWDC. But that is the very important things that this is your teacher, tutor, explainer, right? Source of truth, your dictionary, your working place is your harness where you work on a day-to-day basis. Okay. Did it help you, with the answer?
Yeah, but the thing is, it's clear that using maybe Claude Code or something else is better. The thing is, sometimes without asking to generate any snippet, if I ask, for example, to use the from call functions of the BDL, I got an example right here in the monitor. The first thing that the Doc Assistant that does is give me a snippet of code, which sometimes is not a real thing. It is not something that compiled that work in 4JL. Without asking to create any code, the answer is a snippet of code and a wrong snippet of code.
If you could share with us that, so if you find something came across that something doesn't look right, these may be the edge cases, and we're trying consistently hunt those down and address them. Please share. This is what, yeah. So, and this is so much valuable information. We have our entire team troubleshooting, testing, and refining it, so it consistently improves its responses. You guys have much more use cases on your hands. So if you find something that is not quite right, this is a gold mine for us. Let us know. You have access to, where is it, Andrew, in developer portal, submit feedback, right? Like you can send an email to us, to customer support in Genero. Hold on, Andrew will show you in a second.
Yeah. So you should go here, submit support request, and you can put whatever. Yeah, you can even attach screenshots so we can take a look. Yep.
Please do that. This helps us tremendously to refine. Again, we have found some inconsistencies in terms of version of our documentation we already fixed on our side to make sure, again, that helps us to clean up the house a little better, refine our documentations. And these feedbacks really, really help us to, catch those small little things that might have slided to refine it better. So if any one of you see that something does not look right, it is very quick fix for us. And we rely on your feedback because, again, you guys have in hand much more edge cases, unique scenarios, unique problems that you're trying to solve, much bigger than 4Js on our own have. So you may test and challenge our agent with things that we could not even come up with. And that is a very good test to go. And your feedback is critical for us to refine. So next time it will give you the right answer because we consistently, it's not like once and done, right? We have a whole team dedicated with this, and this is a gold mine for us.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I think we're at the top of the hour. If there's no more questions, again, and if the questions come up later, just feel free to reach out to Marco. He'll channel it back to us. We're here to assist and kind of help you to embrace it. Would love to hear your feedback. Again, some of the projects that you're working on, where you struggled, what worked, what hasn't worked. If you feel your team needs some support in terms of AI enablement or effective prompt engineering, let us know. We can help you with that as well. Because again, the powerful tool that you have is only as good as you know how to steer it in the right direction. And that comes with practice and some, maybe help from our side to really see the impact that it can deliver. Great. Andrew, do you want to add anything else?
Excellent.
I think we're good. Yeah.
Se non ci sono altre domande, Davide?
Solo una cosa, magari per chi è interessato, ecco, ad iscriversi, ad utilizzare le Genero Intelligence e ci dovesse essere domande, ecco, c'è con le amendment che tu sicuramente hai invitato, Marco, hai inviato. Se ci dovesse essere domande sulle condizioni, noi siamo qui per parlarne, perché comunque è una buona occasione per utilizzarlo, è gratuito. Quello di cui abbiamo bisogno è soltanto di un feedback da parte vostra, quindi chiediamo solo questo in cambio, ecco, come ha fatto già Danny attualmente, ti ringrazio per questo.
Approfittiamo per invitare di nuovo tutti coloro che ancora non si sono iscritti alla Genero Conference, in particolare di Strasburgo quest'autunno. Thank you,
Fermo
Eva.
tutti.
Thank you, Andrew. Hope to see you in Strasbourg in this autumn, perhaps.
Ci vediamo.
Really interesting. I will send to you the recording of the session. Thank you all. Grazie a tutti e buon lavoro. Buona serata. Saluti.
Buona serata.
Thank you.
Arrivederci.
Grazie,
Bye bye.
arrivederci.
Bye.